Hello, my name is Marina Da Silva, and welcome to my Pechakucha presentation. Today, I'll be talking about postmodernism and Kurt Vonnegut's 1973 novel Breakfast of the Champions. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Kurt Vonnegut was an American writer from Indiana. He had what I would say a very successful writing career, published a total of 14 novels, 3 short story collections, 5 plays, and 5 works of nonfiction in his lifetime. That does not include other works published post-mortem. Breakfast of the Champions was his 8th novel. He was born on November 11, 1922, Scorpio, in Indianapolis, Indiana. He was the youngest of 3 children. He attended public school for all his life and continued his education at Cornell University in New York. Eventually, Vonnegut dropped out of Cornell in 1943 and enlisted in the U.S. Army to fight in World War II. During the Battle of Bulge, Vonnegut was captured by the Germans. He was a prisoner of war in Dresden and survived the Allied bombing in 1945. After the war, he returned home and married Jane Marie Cox. A few years later, Vonnegut published his first ever novel, Piano Player, in 1952. Breakfast of the Champions, aka Goodbye Blue Monday, was published in 1973. It centers around 2 lonesome, skinny, fairly old white men in the made-up place of Midland City, Ohio. Both these characters, as you'll soon see, have various issues that are dissected in the novel. Many critics believe that these characters and their problems reflect Vonnegut's view on current society. Some major themes featured in Breakfast of Champions are subjectivity, social and economic cruelty, mental illness, and the idea that humans are machines. Many of these topics incorporate postmodern elements, which begs the question, what is postmodernism and its relevance to Vonnegut's novel? In order to fully understand postmodernism, you have to understand just modernism. Modernism refers to the global philosophical movement in society and culture in the late 19th century. It rejected conservative values such as tradition and focused on reason and science to provide accurate and objective, reliable foundations of knowledge. Modernism appears throughout many late 19th and early 20th century literature. This literary movement is characterized by experimentation, so breaking traditional styles of writing and expression. Famous modernist writers include Virginia Woolf, S.T. Eliot, and F. Scott Fitzgerald. To contrast, in Western philosophy, postmodernism is a late 20th century movement characterized by broad skepticism, subjectivism, or relativism, a general suspicion of reason, and an acute sensitivity to the role of ideology in asserting and maintaining political and economic power. The term postmodern was coined by French philosopher Jean-François Lyotard in his publication of The Postmodern Condition, a Report on Knowledge in 1979. He states that postmodernity boils down to mourning the fact that knowledge is no longer a principality narrative. In simpler terms, there is no real truth because knowledge is made up or invented. Postmodernism has been a popular theme in many late 20th century works. Aside from Vonnegut's work specifically in Breakfast of Champions and Slaughterhouse-Five, other postmodernist writers include Bret Easton Ellis, Joseph Heller, and David Foster Wallace. This brings me to my thesis, which is Vonnegut uses postmodernist techniques throughout Breakfast of Champions to alter the perception of American values, demonstrating its fragility and cruelty. His novel acts as a social commentary so that audiences can revalue the American basis for meaning. It's evident that Vonnegut had many controversial opinions about America in his book. In this quote, he describes American citizens as so ignored and cheated and proposes that even Americans who are familiar with American values wonder if they're in the right place. This creates a juxtaposition between people's expectations of their country and the way things actually are. This also creates a sense of disillusionment, which is a postmodern technique. Later in the novel, Vonnegut equates Americans and their livelihoods to storybook characters. This, once again, alludes to the idea that things are not what they seem and our reality isn't truly our reality at all. We, as in the people, and what we think we know about ourselves and society is a made-up concept, and this is another postmodern ideal. Another postmodern theme is questioning existence. In Breakfast of Champions, the idea that humans are machines is reiterated often. This unsettling idea causes the audience to not only question their place in their nation, but also question who they are as a whole, because once again, everything seems to be an illusion and it cannot be trusted at all. In this excerpt, From an analysis written by Sharon Lynn Saber, she states, Breakfast of Champions explores everyday human reality as an alien perspective. These postmodern disjunctions and conjunctions create different kinds of pattern and sequence in which the meaning of these disassociates cause re-evaluation of Western literature and ethics and reverberate back to present meanings in all direction. In simpler terms, Vonnegut evaluates daily American life as an outsider looking in and questions every aspect of American culture or lack thereof. He is able to redefine meaning and expand it whatever way he wants. This is how Vonnegut indirectly conveys his criticisms and forces the audience to understand his point of view, hoping that they'll expand what they think is meaningful too. It's evident that Vonnegut had a clear goal in mind when publishing Breakfast of Champions. He wanted to open the reader's eyes to question the systems in place and break out of this American mob mentality. He questions small details, such as the reasoning behind the nation's Latin motto, to tackling huge existential questions, such as one's very existence. However, one big question is how did his audience at the time respond to this type of novel and its implications? A New York Times review by Christopher Langhout, written in May 3, 1973, praises Vonnegut for performing considerable complex magic as he takes these dark concepts and reinvents them in a gentle and humorous light. And with that, this concludes my Pecha Kucha presentation on postmodernism and Kurt Vonnegut's Breakfast of the Champions. To recap, postmodernism is the suspicion of reason. Vonnegut used postmodernist techniques to highlight faults within the American society and expand what audience perceive as meaningful. Based on the reviews, it seemed that Vonnegut was successful in doing this. Thank you.